Hello guys. In this video, we will see in how many different ways we can create a Pandas data frame. So there are multiple ways and I have listed out around 5 ways here. So the first one is to read a data from CSV file, reading from XLSX file, reading from a JSON file. We can create a data frame from Python dictionary. We can also create data frame from Python list. Okay. So we will explore these 5 options and I will give you a link where you can explore further options which will have different methods of their own in order to create a data frame, right? So let's get started. So if you have seen my first video on what is a data frame and what is a series, you would have already known how to read in a CSV file. So the first one is just talking about that. So let me quickly give a demo on that to you. So it's reading from a CSV file. Okay. So what I'll say df is equal to pd dot read CSV. So that's the method I'm going to use, and I'll need to give the path of the file where the data file resides actually. Okay. So it's data slash stack overflow. I have taken the stack overflow developer survey data, and then I have the CSV file here. Okay. So if I execute it, I'll have my data in my df variable. So if I say df dot head, I will get my first 5 records. Okay. So this is how we can read from CSV file. As you can see, there are 79 columns in this, but what if we want to read only few of the columns if we know the column names beforehand? So for that, what we can do is we just need to make use of an parameter called as use calls, right? So use calls, I need to pass in the columns that I need to read from the file. So let's say I want to read main branch. Okay. And then let me read 1 or 2 more columns. Okay. So employment and remote work. So if I want to read only these 3 columns from my entire data set of 79 columns, I can specify the column names. And how I can specify? Using the parameter called as use calls while reading the data file. So now if I execute this, then if I check my df variable, I'll have only these 3 columns read into this variable df. Okay. So this is how you read a data frame or create a data frame from an existing CSV file. Okay. So let's now check how we can create a data frame or read the data from an XLX file, XLSX. Okay. So reading data from XLSX file. So let me create a new variable called as df1, and the method I'm going to use here will be read Excel. So since it is an XLSX file, not a CSV file, I'll say read from Excel. So for that, it's the same thing. I need to give the path for the data file. Okay. So stack overflow developers survey, and it should be XLSX. And let's say I have 2 sheets in it. So the first sheet has one data and the second sheet has some dummy data in it. I have created it. So let's see how we can specifically read from one or the other sheet. Okay. So for that, the argument is sheet name. I need to specify the sheet name. So let's say I want to read from sheet 2. So this will be the name what you have given in your workbook for that particular sheet. So that name you have to specify here. So in this case, I want to read my data from sheet 2. So if I execute it and then check the data in df1, so let's just wait till it completes reading. Okay, now it has completed reading the data. So if I check this, you see there are only 3 records which are read from sheet 2. Okay, so this is how you read the data from XLSX file. Okay. Now that we have seen 2 varieties, one from CSV, one from XLSX, let's now see how we can read the data from JSON file. Reading from JSON file. Okay. So for that, I need to make use of a method called as pd.readJSON. So that's it. So JSON, and then the file, I need to provide the file path with the file name. So for that, again, I have it in this place. clothing.json. So if I execute it, okay, so I'm getting some error, trailing data. Okay, so I need to set a parameter to true here called as lines. So what this specifically states that read each line of that particular JSON as the JSON data. So if you just check the signature of this particular method, it says lines bool equal to false, and if you go to the lines description, where is it, lines, read the file as a JSON object per line. So each line in that file will represent a JSON object, right? So we have to set that to true. Now if I check my df3.head, I'll have my data frame created with the particular data present in that particular JSON file. Okay, so this is how you read data from a JSON file. Now that we have understood three different ways of reading the data from three different file formats, let's see if we do not have any data file with us and how we can create the data frame from the data that we are going to have in our Python variables. Like it could be in dictionaries, it could be in list, it could be in tuples, etc. Okay. So for this case, let me first show you how we can create a data frame using Python dictionary. Using Python dictionary. Okay, so for that, let me create a Python dictionary. Okay, let me create a variable by name students data, and it will be of type dictionary. The first key will be roll number, and it will have the list of roll numbers, right? So let me say 120, 121, 122. So these three are my roll numbers, and after roll number, my next key would be student name. Let me just type in name, so it will be easy and quick way to give you a demo. So student name, let me give some ABC, XYZ, and PQR. So this is my student name, and then let's say I'm storing the result data here. Okay, so let me call my third key as result, and let's say first student has passed, second student has failed, and third student has passed with a distinction. So let me just say PWD for that. Okay, so now if I execute it and then check the students data, it's a dictionary, typical Python dictionary, right? So if you check the type of it, so it's a dictionary. So how we can create the data frame from this particular dictionary? So for that, all you have to do is df is equal to pd.dataframe is a method which will return as a pandas data frame. And what it will take, it will need some data, right? So in this case, dictionary is our data. So let me pass in the dictionary. So now if you check, we have a data frame with us. So from the Python dictionary, we are successful in creating a pandas data frame. Okay, so this is how you create the pandas data frame using Python dictionary. Now let us say we have to create from list of tuples. So let's say we have a list of tuples. Creating data frame from list of tuples. Okay, so what I'll do, I will have the same data but within a list of tuples. Okay, so what I'll say students data. I will have it as a list, but it will be a tuple in this case. So I'll copy these values so I don't have to type it again and again. So this is my first tuple. The second tuple would be, no, it cannot be like this. So each tuple in the list represents one row. Okay, so it will be 120 ABC and the result pass. Okay, so I cannot copy that 121 comma XYZ comma fail, and similarly my third tuple 122 PQR pass with distinction. So this is my list of tuples. Okay, so now if I want to create the data frame from this, each tuple here will represent one row in a data frame. So all I have to do is df is equal to pd dot data frame, again the same method, pd dot data frame, and I want to pass in this particular variable. In this case, it's a list of tuples. So now if I check my df, you see we have the data returned as a data frame. But one thing to notice here is you are not able to see the column names because we haven't specified anything in our list. So in order to deal with this kind of data where you do not have the column names, but you do know what each column represents, you can give the column names. So how you can give the column names? By using a variable or the parameter called as columns, and you need to specify the names for each of the column. So the first column is our roll number, the second column is our name, the third column is our result. Okay, so now if I execute it and then check, there you go. Now we have the column names assigned to those particular columns. So earlier you saw 0, 1, 2. So those are column indexes. Now for those indexes we have given some names and we call them by names, roll number, name and result. Okay, so this is how you create a data frame from list of tuples. Now let's say we have a list of dictionaries. Okay, the similar data, the same data, we can have it in a dictionary also, right? So let me just give the heading: creating data frame from list of dictionaries. So let me quickly create a list of dictionary. So data will be, it's a list and I'll have the dictionary. So the first dictionary, I'll have my roll number and it will be 120. So the second key in the first dictionary would be name and it will be ABC. So similarly, I will have my result as a key and the result value pass. So this is my first dictionary within the list. So similarly, I will have two more rows. So roll number will be 121 here, 122 here. Name will be XYZ and here it will be PQR. It is fail, the result is fail there and it is pass with distinction. So now we have our list of dictionaries with us. Now if we have some data like this while we work on any project, let's say we want this to be in a Pandas data frame format. So how do we create that? It's again the same thing, df is equal to pd dot data frame and you pass this data to it. Now if you check the df, you will have the same data which earlier was list of dictionaries returned in a Pandas data frame. So now what happens if we have an additional key in one of these list elements, right? So if I have something called as, so instead of after result, let's say I'm storing the student gender also. So gender is equal to, let's say, male, M for male. Okay. So now if I create the data frame using this particular data, df of pd dot data frame data. So if you check it, you will see there is a column gender created. But since it is not present in the first two dictionaries in the list, it has assigned NaN. So it says not a number, but this is actually a null value. We treat them as null values in Pandas. Okay, Pandas data frame. So if we have any additional key in a list of dictionaries in any only one item, the other two items will also get that column created, but the value will be NaN or null. Okay. So this is how you can create a Pandas data frame. And if you just go to the method pd dot, and if I want to read, so there are multiple options available from where you can read the data and have it in the form of dictionary or in the form of data frame. Okay. So if you are executing some SQL query and the return result you want to be in a Pandas data frame, you can use read SQL. These are Parquet file format. It's related to big data. So that if you're reading from that particular format, you can have it. If you're reading from JSON, we have already seen it. If we are reading from an HTML, you can use read HTML. If you are using Excel, you can use Excel. Or if you have the data copied into a clipboard, you can read from clipboard as well. Right? So there are multiple methods available and multiple formats supported while reading the data into a Pandas data frame. Okay. So these are just a few that I have demoed to you. but feel free to explore it and comment out any problems if you face at all. Then I will be able to help you. Okay. So that's it for this video. If you like the content that I'm creating, please give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe. So till we see in the next video, happy learning. Bye bye.